Yo, what's up everybody? It's me, WDMichael, and in today's YouTube video, we're going to be checking out the 25 returning legendary Pokemon coming to the Pokemon Scarlet Violet video games in the Indigo Disk DLC. We'll also check out a little bit of the information about how you can possibly encounter these Pokemon in the new DLC. So let's hop into this video and check out the legendary Pokemon. Okay, so here we are with our confirmed list of 25 legendaries that we will be able to capture in the Indigo Disk DLC. Now, they range from the very first generation all the way up to the most recent one, so we're definitely getting a lot of our legendary Pokemon. Just know that not all the legendary Pokemon were initially revealed as being available, so things like the Tapus are not going to be available, and a couple of, I can't remember exactly which ones, but there are definitely not all of them on here. So keep that in mind. They may be coming in some sort of like 7-star Terra raids later on that have been planned. But these are the ones we are going to be getting, and it's a pretty solid list of Pokemon, I won't even lie. Starting off in Kanto, we've got those original 3 legendary birds where we've got Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Now for like VGC, I'll be honest, there's not a whole lot that's going to be coming from these 3. Zapdos definitely is the one that's in the forefront as far as like the most viable as far as Pokemon go. The static ability is really strong. Moltres, I'd say, would come in a solid second. Like, it has some potential. We've seen it in some of the wide league tournaments. Articuno probably isn't going to do a whole lot, but we'll end up seeing, you know, who knows, maybe there's some changes to him. Then we've got Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. Now, those 3 have some potential VGC viability. With a lot of the weather stuff that's going to be coming out, Suicune and Entei might do decent. More or less so Suicune with the powerhouse moves that it does have. It's definitely been one of those Pokemon that has been kind of around in VGC when it's been available and can do some stuff. Entei is another one I'd say out of those 3 is probably the one that gets the most usage in VGC. You know, it gets access to Will-O-Wisp. Its signature move, which I can't remember off the top of my head right now, is absolutely insane. So like, it definitely has some really awesome like VGC viability. The Raikou is probably the least out of the 3 with like some fast snarls, stuff like that. And it still could be usable, like probably more or less than an Articuno, but it's not anything where you're like, oh, this is gonna break the meta kind of a thing. Now we've got Ho-Oh and Lugia. Ho-Oh and Lugia, pretty solid options. I mean, Lugia, honestly, out of all the legendary, is probably the worst one as far as like VGC compatibility. But its shiny variant is really awesome, so I'm actually kind of really excited about the potential to shiny hunt these. But Ho-Oh, as far as VGC goes, definitely has the forefront, and out of those 2, it was definitely the most usable out of the 2, and was used a little bit in some of the VGC, especially in Sword and Shield. We've got Latios, and Latios, I haven't really ever seen anything with VGC in those 2 in particular, but I also didn't really play a lot during those generations, so who knows, maybe they are pretty like VGC viable. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you off my first-hand experience or even just through seeing them. I think I saw them a little bit in Sword and Shield when we got the access to like some restricted formats, but nothing crazy, nothing like the next 2, which are absolutely going to take over pretty much everything that we end up seeing in any game that they're available in, and that's Kyogre and Groudon, the absolute champions of weather. Weather is a huge dynamic in VGC, and the fact that both of them drop it in and also have the stats they have is kind of crazy. I mean, they're definitely like they're insanely strong, and they're going to be used a bunch. So we saw them in Sword and Shield being some of the top 2 most used legendary Pokemon during Sword and Shield when we had that format. And I honestly, I don't think there's anything that's going to change this. I think with having it just kind of made me sick a little bit, but a Water Terra Kyogre with Mystic Water in rain, like I'll be honest, I don't know if anything lives that. I like, that just seems disgusting. And then same thing with Groudon, like a Terrifier Groudon is just going to be absolutely insane. Or I mean, the exact opposite. If you can give these guys a defensive Terra, I mean, honestly, just it scares the living daylights out of me having to think about trying to deal with these 2 in a Terra format. Dynamax was already brutal enough, but like, man, Terraform is going to be absolutely insane. Rayquaza, another one of those ones where like used kind of, it was like one of those 50-50, was decent, but it also like it probably wasn't the best. So we'll see. It might get some VGC usage if we end up getting a meta with it. but it probably won't be as high as some of these other ones like Kyogre Groudon. Rayquaza, from what I hear from a lot of people in the community, definitely suffered a lot when losing its Mega. Its Mega was kind of one of the big things that it benefited from, and so not having its Mega definitely hurts that one a little bit. Cobalion, Terrakion, and Virizion, some of our current, or at least recent, Paradox Pokemon, and one of the ones we're going to be getting in the DLC, which is Cobalion and the Iron Crown. So we're getting those ones in the Iron... I almost said Iron Crown. But the in the Indigo Disk, so we'll be able to capture all these ones, Cobalion, Terrakion, Virizion. All really fantastic Pokemon. Definitely, like, from what I can remember, at least 2 of them are used pretty regularly in Sword and Shield VGC. One was Cobalion because you got the Justified ability, so you could actually, you know, like, beat it up, and it would be crazy. Same with Terrakion. It was another one of those beat up Pokemon where it would ruin you. So the whole Justified thing and having, like, Whimsicott back in the meta, I mean, it could be spicy again. I mean, they were definitely not easy to deal with before, so we'll see how that goes. Virizion, I don't really think ever ends up being utilized too much in VGC. I could be wrong, but I don't remember it being one of those ones where I ended up having to deal with it a lot. Reshiram and Zekrom both have some really, really cool potential for VGC. I don't think they were ever the strongest ones in VGC, but there was definitely times where in the restricted metas that we got that they popped up and were used. They've got some pretty, like, their abilities and their moves are solid. They've got some solid stat pools. They can do some work. I think it was just an issue of there was just other Pokemon that were in the same boat. Like, they didn't outstand some of the other Pokemon so much to where they were usable. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with them in a terrestrialization format. Kyurem was definitely more or less used a little bit. I remember Kyurem, like, being used on teams. It was definitely one of those Pokemon that was a little bit more difficult to knock out and was a problem. So Kyurem, I think, could definitely utilize from a Terra, like, Kyurem could be crazy, man. And then we come up to Alola. We've got Solgaleo and Lunala, man. Both these were absolutely used in Sword and Shield. I remember a bunch of them being used in Dynamax. Solgaleo had the weakness policy. Was strong. It was a strong Pokemon. It was hard to beat up. Definitely had some really usable, like, moves and synergies in 2v2 battles. Lunala, I don't think was quite as used as much as Solgaleo, but still definitely had a lot of viability. And I think with some Terra changing, Lunala can be pretty spicy. I love Lunala. Shiny Lunala is probably one of my top favorite, like, shiny legendary Pokemon. So if we can get any of these legendary shiny through the game, I can almost guarantee Lunala is probably gonna be my first one, man. I love that red vampire maroon blood color. It's super cool. Then we have Necrozma. I didn't really ever remember seeing a whole lot with Necrozma in VGC. Anytime we ended up seeing it with VGC was when it was paired with, like, a Lunala or Solgaleo and making it the Duskmane or Dusk Wing. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But yeah, that was definitely it. And they were used. I mean, you know, Duskmane was a really bulky Solgaleo, so it was used. It does change around their abilities a little bit, so, like, they ended up being on slightly different teams, but I mean, definitely usable. So it'll be cool. It'll be interesting to see if anybody pulls out a Necrozma or stuff like that. One of the, I think probably the biggest ones in this entire list is actually, like, the baby legendary, and that's going to be Kubfu. As we all know, in any format that Urshifu has been in, it has dominated. Dark Terra Urshifu did fantastic. Water Urshifu right now is just absolutely a annoying powerhouse to deal with, especially when you match with Tornadus, with Prankster, Rain, Tailwind. Like, it's just, it is such a strong combo right now that having a chance to get Kubfu in game really opens up a lot for everybody else who maybe didn't have Sword and Shield to get the Kubfu. And also just, like, the potential to finally have a shiny Urshifu would be legit. I would definitely be really all about getting a shiny Urshifu. Problem is, I don't know which one I would, because, like, if these are all static encounters, we only get one of them. Like, what am I going to evolve that Kubfu into? Do I want to go with a shiny Water Urshifu or a shiny Dark Urshifu? And that's actually something I want to know down in the comments. If you were to only get one shiny Kubfu, what are you going to evolve it into? A Water Urshifu or a Dark Urshifu? That's a big one. Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, I think Kung Fu's probably gonna be one of the biggest legendaries that we get out of this one, just due to the fact that Urshifu is just broken. It's just a broken Pokemon. Then our last two are gonna be Spectre and Glastrier, which would be pretty interesting to get those ones as well. I would definitely like, I think their shiny variants are really cool, especially Spectre. They're also, I like, if we get Calyrex, it's gonna be a big problem because Calyrex is really strong and they both get spread moves, and without Dynamax, like, I really feel like these two could be big problem. I mean, Shadow Calyrex with a Terra Ghost, like Astral Barrage with a Tornadus, or like a help, like it's the same thing like Kyogre and like a Terra Water. Like it scares me because I feel like it would just one hit KO almost anything at that point. Super difficult Pokemon to face against and could definitely cause an issue in the meta. Glastrier, Calyrex, if we get the Glastrier or the Calyrex, especially, like, that would definitely change up how Trick Room goes. I don't know how much is going to get changed in the Indigo Disk with Trick Room, but recently we've been getting a lot of tools that we've been needing to make Trick Room more viable. We've seen it a lot in VGC where Trick Room is coming back, man. We're seeing a lot more people using it. We're seeing it being viable because, you know, we got Dusclops, we got Ursaluna Blood Moon, we got Cresselia. Like, we've gotten a lot of pieces, and Glastrier being a more common Pokemon for people to get could definitely make people want to try Trick Room out more. That's really cool. I definitely like that. But yeah, so I think with all of these ones, just kind of in conclusion, as far as like what we've seen with the Sword and Shield DLC and what it looks like we're kind of getting with the Indigo Disk. Basically in Sword and Shield, we got in our last DLC where we got the Terra Raid events, or not Terra Raid, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that, but the Dynamax raids, or what was it, the Dyna Den. Basically it was the den where you could get all the legendary Pokemon. Now a couple of the rules with that was you could only get one, you could get them shiny. So what I'm guessing is that's probably going to happen in this game is that we're going to be able to get these all shiny. It would be really weird. I really don't think they're going to lock them all to be non-shiny because, I mean, they already gave us a whole bunch of options to get them shiny in Sword and Shield. I don't think it's too much of a step to let us all have them shiny in this game now either. And then with the way that the new mechanic is going from what we've seen in the DLC teaser trailer, with our snacks and stuff like that, and us being able to only have one static encounter on the map, like, it definitely feels like this is one of those situations where we should be able to get them shiny. And I'm really excited. I definitely want to hunt all these Pokemon shiny. I didn't do a whole lot of it in Sword and Shield. I was a little too busy focused on VGC, but I would love to shiny hunt a lot of these legendaries in Scarlet and Violet. So but yeah, so another piece of this that we ended up getting in the teaser trailer was we got a little information on how we're actually going to encounter these legendary Pokemon. So I want to hop on over to another slide that'll kind of give us some information on what to expect when we hop into the DLC and how we're going to actually unlock these and what we need to do. So let's hop over to it. Okay, so here we are with a little bit of the information that we got from the actual teaser trailer a few days ago. Now, in the teaser trailer, we definitely got a little bit of information about like some of the legendary Pokemon. It showed a bunch of slideshows of all the different legendary Pokemon. It also showed some of the legendary Pokemon like Suicune standing out in the world of Paldea all by itself. So it really gave us like this sense or feeling that we were going to get static encounters of these legendary Pokemon around the world. And then it further went into it as we were kind of exploring this particular subject, that we were going to be meeting a particular person at the Blueberry Academy by the name of Snackworth. Now, Snackworth is a gentleman in the Blueberry Academy that you can find and do quests for. And these quests will actually help you in unlocking snacks. Now, these snacks are going to be tailored to the very specific legendary Pokemon that you can find. And once you get one, it will actually lure out one of these Pokemon for you to be able to encounter and catch. That is how it seems to be in this one. It seems to be a kind of a play on the last one in Sword and Shield. You know, you were only able to do a couple of them in those giant raid dens that we had. So it's going to be probably the same thing. You know, you get a snack, you're able to go and find one. It's not like they're all going to be on the map all at one time. You are going to have to do a little bit of work for it. It sounds like we're going to have to do some of the story progression. We're going to have to do some quests, and it's going to be something that's going to take us a little bit of time to unlock, which is totally fine. I mean, it's part of the game. We need to play the game. But yeah, really cool. It's nice that we're getting a little information so that when we get into this game, we can be prepared on like, okay, I want to go hunt legendary Pokemon. I know that I need to go find this Snackworth guy. So that's definitely super helpful. I'm glad that they shared this little bit of information with us. And honestly, I'm pretty intrigued by this. I think this will be a fun legendary experience. We'll be able to catch legendary Pokemon in different areas around the map, see where they actually place them in the map, like which biome or which environment they're going to be in, and hopefully be able to actually shiny hunt these Pokemon. This is really where, like, when we get those static encounters, like, is there going to be a chance for us to get them shiny? Can we reset? But again, a lot of those things weren't really answered yet, and we're going to find those out here in a couple days because the DLC trailer does drop pretty soon. But overall, a really cool mechanic is coming to the DLC, and I'm really excited about it. I love legendary Pokemon. I love that we're getting more access to them, especially since a bunch of them are really usable in VGC, and having access to them without having to play 4, 5, 6 other games to get them is great. It makes the game more accessible to newer players, and that is probably the best part about this. So I'm really excited. Let me know down in the comments, if you're able to get a shiny Kubfu, which one of the Urshifus are you going to evolve it into? The water one or the dark one? That'll be our big question for this particular video. I'd love to hear about your comments down below, so definitely let me know. Yo, thank you all so much for coming out to this YouTube video where we talked a little bit about the 25 legendary Pokemon that are returning to Pokemon Scarlet Violet through the Indigo Disk DLC. It's been really just a ton of fun getting all the little details that we're getting about the video game. We haven't gotten a bunch of spoilers, but we're getting information that's going to really help us out in getting into the game and getting what we want to done with. You know, some of us really want to do VGC. Maybe there's a specific VGC team that we want to build, and it requires a legendary Pokemon like a Sun team. You want to get that Groudon. Well, now we at least have an idea of what we need to do to achieve that, and that is really nice to have. So massive props. It seems like a lot of fun. I definitely love that we're gonna be able to get snacks. I'm curious what different snacks these legendary Pokemon are gonna eat. That should be a pretty fun little, like, snippet, like, oh, you know, Suicune likes watercress or whatever, you know, like, whatever it ends up being. It should be really interesting to see what we end up having for these different Pokemon and snacks, and if they tie in with sandwiches or whatever they end up being. But overall, a really cool concept, and I'm really excited to hop into this here in a couple days, and I hope you are as well. If you like this kind of content from me, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification bell so you get notified when I drop more videos just like this one. And if you want to hang out with me live while I'm playing this video game over on my Twitch channel, make sure you hop on over to my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/WDMichael so you can drop a follow and get notified when I go live, so you can come and hang out with me while I'm playing this game, because I tell you what, I'm gonna have an absolute blast playing this when it releases and for quite a few days afterwards. So I'd love to have you come and hang out with me. But until then, trainers, I hope you have a fantastic time out in the Paldea and the Kitakami region. And until next time, peace out.